Helen Carter felt her heart racing as she stood in the massive conference hall. The room was filled with strange beings from across the galaxy. Some had multiple eyes, others had skin that glowed in the dark, and a few looked like they were made of living crystal. She was here to sign the most important document in human history. Earth was finally joining the Galactic Council. She held the electronic pad in her shaking hands and spoke clearly. "On behalf of all humans, I accept these terms with hope for our future together." The tall alien with crystal skin, called Thexler, nodded at her. His face seemed kind and welcoming. "Your people have earned their place here. We will protect your planets and help you grow stronger." Helen smiled and signed the document. She thought this was the beginning of something wonderful. She had no idea that at that very moment, 5 powerful alien leaders were meeting in a secret room. They were planning something terrible. Veshnak was the leader of the Krillix Empire. He looked at a glowing map that showed all of Earth's defenses. His cold eyes studied every detail. "The humans have given us everything. They told us where all their weapons are. They trusted us completely." The other 4 aliens in the room nodded. They had been watching humanity for 3 years. Humans had grown too fast, too smart. In just 200 years, they had built amazing spaceships and discovered new technology. The aliens were afraid. What if humans became more powerful than them? What if humans tried to take over the galaxy? They made a choice that day. They would destroy humanity before humans became too dangerous. It was safer to kill them now than to worry about them later. Commander Jake Morrison was flying his ship near Earth's outer edge. It was supposed to be a normal day. His ship, the Defender, had the newest technology that combined human and alien designs. The aliens had given them special shields and weapons as gifts. Lieutenant Amy Brooks was checking her screens when she noticed something strange. "Sir, I see ships coming into our area. They look like council ships." Jake felt confused. "We did not know they were coming. Try to talk to them." What happened next would change everything. The alien ships did not answer with words. They answered with weapons. Bright beams of energy shot toward the Defender. "Get us out of here," Jake shouted, but it was already too late. The shields that the aliens had given them failed immediately. They had built secret codes into the technology that turned the shields off. The alien weapons tore through the ship's metal walls. Air started rushing out into space. Jake managed to send one final message back to Earth before his ship was destroyed. "This is a trap. They are all coming for us. May God help everyone." Back on Earth, Admiral Peter Hayes was standing in the main command center. Suddenly, every alarm in the building started screaming at once. The big screen in front of him lit up with hundreds of red dots. Enemy ships were appearing everywhere around Earth. 200 warships had just arrived. They surrounded the entire planet in perfect formation. Within seconds, they started firing. Space stations exploded into balls of fire. Satellites were turned into metal dust. Defense platforms that were supposed to protect Earth were destroyed before they could even shoot back. Captain Lisa Morgan was reading the incoming reports with horror in her voice. "Sir, our colonies on Mars and the moons are under attack too. Early reports say millions are already dead." Peter felt like he could not breathe. 20 million people lived in the orbital cities around Earth. Most of them were already gone, frozen, or burned in space. He realized that the aliens had planned everything perfectly. They knew exactly where to hit and when. "Start Protocol Omega," Peter said quietly. "If we are going to die, we will not leave anything useful behind. Destroy all our research. Delete all our files." Human pilots rushed to their fighters and flew up to defend their home. They were brave and skilled, but it did not matter. The aliens had better ships, more weapons, and they knew all of humanity's secrets. Every human defensive position had been given to the aliens as a sign of trust and friendship. Now those same aliens were using that information to kill them efficiently. Helen was locked in her room on the council station. They made her watch everything on a screen. She saw mushroom clouds rise on Earth's surface. She saw human colonies go dark one by one. Tears ran down her face as her entire species was being wiped out. Thexler appeared on her screen. His crystal face showed no emotion at all. "Do not be sad, Ambassador. Your species gave us no choice. You were advancing too quickly. The galaxy is safer without humans." "We trusted you," Helen whispered. Her voice was broken. "We gave you everything. We thought you were our friends." "Yes, you did trust us," Thexler replied. "That was your biggest mistake." The attack continued for 3 full days. The aliens did not stop until they were sure humanity was finished. When the weapons finally went silent, Earth was a burning ruin. The beautiful blue planet was now covered in smoke and fire. The colonies were nothing but rubble floating in space. 9 billion humans were dead. The aliens celebrated their victory. They had removed a dangerous species from the galaxy. They had protected their power and their way of life. The Galactic Council released an official statement saying that humanity had been planning to attack peaceful civilizations. It was a lie, but who would argue with them? There were no humans left to tell the truth. The 5 alien leaders met again in their secret room. They looked at the reports and felt satisfied. The human threat had been eliminated completely and efficiently. There would be no revenge because there was no one left to seek it. Humanity was extinct, or so they thought. Deep under the surface of Mars, in a hidden military base that the aliens did not know existed, General Marcus Webb watched the reports. His hands were shaking with rage and exhaustion. Around him, a few hundred soldiers and scientists were all that remained of Earth's military. Marcus had lost his wife and his 3 children in the attack. Everyone in that base had lost someone they loved. Most had lost everyone. The pain was almost too much to bear. But Marcus refused to cry. There would be time for tears later. Right now, there was only one thing that mattered. The aliens thought they had won. They thought humanity was finished. They were about to learn a terrible lesson. When you try to kill all of humanity and fail, when you murder billions and leave only a few survivors, you do not create peace. You create something far more dangerous. You create humans with nothing left to lose. And those humans would make the galaxy pay for every single death. General Marcus Webb had not slept in 3 days. His eyes were red and his hands would not stop shaking. He stood in the command center of Site 7, a secret military base built deep under the surface of Mars. The base was supposed to be used if humans ever went to war with each other. Now it was the last shelter for what remained of humanity. Colonel Nina Ross walked up to him with a report. Her voice was flat and empty. "The final count is in, sir. Out of 7 billion humans, only 430 million survived. That means 94% of our species is dead." Marcus stared at the numbers. 430 million people scattered across 6 hidden bases. That was all that was left of humanity. Everyone else was gone. Parents, children, friends, lovers, all dead because the aliens decided humans were too dangerous to live. He pressed a button on his desk. "Get me a secure connection to all surviving commanders. Use the highest priority code." Within minutes, 5 faces appeared on screens around the room. Admiral Claire Bennett was calling from a base hidden under the ice of Europa. Commander Luis Garcia was in an asteroid mining station that the aliens thought was just space junk. Colonel Henry Kim was in a secret bunker on the far side of Earth's moon. Commander Natalie Pierce was in the underground city on New Titan. Captain Drew Walsh was at a monitoring post at the edge of the solar system. Marcus looked at each face. They all had the same expression. Grief mixed with burning rage. "I assume everyone has seen what they did to Earth." Claire spoke first. Her voice was quiet and controlled, but Marcus could hear the pain underneath. "My husband and my 2 daughters were on Earth. They were visiting my parents. All 4 of them are dead now." The others nodded. Every single person watching had lost family. Some had lost everyone they loved. The pain was so deep it was almost impossible to think about anything else. "So here is the question," Marcus continued. "Do we surrender? Do we beg these aliens for mercy after they just murdered 9 billion of us? Or do we show them what happens when you betray humanity?" Luis leaned forward. His face was scarred from years of military service. "Before the attack, I was working on a research ship. We were building new weapons in secret. We were not sure we could trust the aliens completely, so we kept some projects hidden from them." "What kind of weapons?" Henry asked. "Technology that makes their fastest ships look like old cars. We figured out how to control something called zero-point energy. If we can build a weapon with it, we can make their ships just disappear. We can literally unmake matter at the atomic level." Natalie looked shocked. "That technology does not exist yet. It would take decades to build." "It would have taken decades," Luis corrected her. "But when you are the last survivors of a genocide and you have nothing left to lose, you stop worrying about safety. We can build this weapon in months, not years." Drew spoke up from his distant post. "I have been listening to alien communications since the attack. They think there is no organized resistance left. They are planning to send teams to steal any human technology they can find." "Perfect," Marcus said. "Let them think we are finished. We stay hidden and silent. We build weapons and ships. We learn everything about them. We find their weaknesses. And then, Claire asked, though everyone knew the answer. Then we make them pay for every single human life they took, Marcus replied. We become exactly what they were afraid we would become. We become their worst nightmare. Nobody argued. The vote was quick and unanimous. Humanity would have revenge. Over the next months, the survivors worked harder than they had ever worked before. Hidden factories were built inside asteroids and under the surfaces of moons. Every person who could hold a tool was put to work. Scientists who used to study peaceful things now designed weapons. Engineers who built homes now built warships. Even children helped where they could. Dr. Sophie Chen was in charge of weapons development at Site 7. She had been a peaceful scientist before the attack. She loved studying the stars and learning about the universe. Then the aliens killed her husband and her son. Now she spent every waking hour designing ways to kill aliens. The zero-point weapon works, she told Marcus during a meeting. We tested it on a small scale. It can unmake matter within a radius of 5,000 kilometers. The only problem is we need more power. What do you need? Marcus asked. We need one of their quantum cores. If we can capture an alien ship and take its power source, we can build a weapon that will turn their entire fleet into nothing. Lieutenant Kevin Price was one of the few pilots who survived the initial attack. He had watched his friends die trying to defend Earth. Now he wanted payback. My squadron can get you that ship. Give us the right equipment and we will bring you a prize. 3 weeks later, Kevin led 8 pilots in brand new stealth ships. These ships were covered in special material that bent light around them, making them invisible. They waited near Jupiter until they saw what they were looking for. A single Krillix scout ship was passing by on patrol. The humans attacked fast. They hit the alien ship with electromagnetic pulse weapons that shut down its engines but did not destroy it. Then they attached cables and towed the disabled ship back to Site 7. The aliens never even got a distress signal out. The Krillix crew was taken prisoner. They were the first aliens to face angry humans. Marcus went to see them personally. He stood in front of the captured captain, a female Krillix named Leshivara. Your people killed billions of us, Marcus said. His voice was calm, but his eyes were hard. Give me one reason why I should not throw all of you out of an airlock right now. Leshivara clicked her mandibles nervously. She could feel the hate coming off the human like heat from fire. We were following orders. The council decided your species was a threat. A threat? We were too successful? Too smart? So you killed children? You destroyed hospitals? You burned entire cities full of people who had nothing to do with the military? It is how things work in the galaxy, Leshivara said. Dangerous species are eliminated before they can challenge the established powers. Marcus stared at her for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. You are right about one thing. We are dangerous. But we were only potentially dangerous before. Now we are actually dangerous. And you are going to help us become the most terrifying species in the galaxy. I will tell you nothing. You do not have to. Marcus gestured and guards dragged her away. Your ship's computers are telling us everything we need to know. The captured ship gave humanity exactly what they needed. The aliens had stored all their military information on the ship's computer. Troop movements, communication codes, political secrets, and detailed information about each alien species. Sophie and her team took the ship's quantum core and used it to power their weapon. But Marcus knew that weapons alone would not win this war. The aliens had bigger fleets and controlled thousands of planets. Humanity needed a different approach. We are not going to fight the way they fight, Marcus told his commanders. They think in terms of big battles and honor. We are going to fight dirty, hit-and-run attacks, psychological warfare. We are going to become ghosts. We will appear, strike, and vanish before they can react. Claire smiled for the first time since the attack. The council tried to wipe us out before we became dangerous. Now they are going to find out they should have tried harder to finish the job. Humanity was no longer the peaceful species that had reached out to the stars with hope and friendship. The aliens had killed that version of humanity. What remained was something harder, colder, and far more dangerous. The survivors had nothing left to lose and everything to avenge. The galaxy was about to learn a terrible lesson about what happens when you betray humanity. The Valorian mining colony on planet Kresh 7 had been operating peacefully for 30 years. 6,000 alien workers dug rare minerals from the ground while automated defenses kept watch. The planet was far from any war zone. Everyone thought it was completely safe. They were wrong. Lieutenant Kevin Price guided his squadron of stealth ships through space near Kresh 7. The ships made no sound and showed up on no sensors. They were like sharks swimming through dark water. Nobody could see them coming. "Hit the communication satellites first," Kevin ordered through his radio. "Once they cannot call for help, we move to the next step." 8 ships broke away from the group and glided toward the satellites orbiting the planet. Silent missiles launched from the human ships. Within seconds, the colony could no longer send messages to anyone. On the surface, a Valorian supervisor named Thal Rex noticed that communications had stopped working. He felt confused and a little worried. He tried to activate the emergency beacon. Nothing happened. He tried again. "This is Kresh 7 colony calling any council ship. We have a system failure. We need help immediately." The response came in a language he hoped he would never hear again. Human language. "This is Commander Natalie Pierce of the Human Resistance. Kresh 7, you are now under our control. Turn off all your weapons and go to the emergency shelters. You have 10 minutes. Talrex felt his crystalline skin turn pale. "That is impossible. The humans are all dead. Your people tried to kill us all." Natalie's voice was cold and hard. "You failed. You now have 9 minutes and 30 seconds. The Valorians rushed to turn on their defense guns, but nothing worked. Human computer programs delivered by those silent missiles had taken control of every military system in the colony. When the Valorians refused to evacuate, Kevin's squadron showed them humanity's new weapon. One ship dropped down through the atmosphere and fired a single pulse of energy. A large mining building simply stopped existing. The atoms that made up the building were scattered across space. The building was there 1 second and completely gone the next. This time the Valorians ran to the shelters. Human soldiers in advanced combat armor swept through the colony. They were not there to take resources or claim territory. They were there to send a message. Colonel Henry Kim supervised the operation. He ordered his troops to collect every piece of alien technology and every database. Then he had all the Valorian workers gather in their shelters where they could hear him. "Listen carefully." Henry's voice echoed through the shelter's speakers. "We are not here to kill civilians, even though your people showed us no such mercy. We are here to make sure you understand something. Humanity is not dead. We are very much alive, and we remember everything you did to us." He paused to let his words sink in. "Go back to your council. Tell them the humans are coming. Tell them we know about the betrayal, about the conspiracy, about every species that helped murder us. Tell them we will have justice, and justice will hurt." The human forces left as quickly as they had arrived. They took all the useful technology with them, but left the colony and the workers intact. When council ships finally arrived hours later, they found 6,000 terrified Valorians with an impossible story to tell. News of the attack spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The official response from the council was dismissive. They said a few million humans might have survived in remote places. Those survivors would be hunted down and killed to finish the job. Supreme Coordinator Veshanak called an emergency meeting of the Inner Council. The 5 species that had planned humanity's destruction gathered in their secret chamber. "This is a small problem," Veshanak insisted. "A few surviving humans with stolen technology. We will send hunter fleets to find them and kill them." Thexler was less confident. "The weapons they used at Kresh 7 were not stolen. They were beyond anything we have. How did they develop such advanced technology so quickly?" "Humans are clever," admitted Kelthor of the Mantic species. "We knew this. That is why we decided to eliminate them." "Maybe we should have been more thorough," said Admiral Grex of the Saurian species. "The scout ship we lost near Jupiter. Did we ever find it?" Nobody had an answer. The silence in the room was uncomfortable. Over the following weeks, more attacks happened across Council space. A weapons storage facility on Thrax Prime was infiltrated and blown up. A Council diplomatic convoy was ambushed and all the ships were destroyed or captured. A Krillex military school was bombed, killing 200 young officers in training. Each attack was fast, brutal, and perfectly executed. Each time, humans left some aliens alive to tell what happened. They wanted the Council to know exactly who was responsible. Marcus coordinated everything from Site 7. He moved ships and teams across space like a chess player moving pieces on a board. Every attack had multiple purposes. They gathered information, tested new weapons, destroyed Council resources, and most importantly, spread fear. "The psychological warfare is working," reported Commander Luis Garcia. Our spies are intercepting alien communications. The word human is starting to scare them. Some alien species are questioning whether killing us was the right thing to do. Good, Marcus replied. Fear is a weapon, but we cannot keep doing hit-and-run attacks forever. Eventually, they will figure out how to defend against us. We need to move to the next phase, which is? Claire asked. Marcus pulled up a new display on the big screen. We go after the leadership. We are going to capture every member of the inner council that ordered our genocide. We will put them on trial for their crimes. We will broadcast it across the entire galaxy. We will show every species what happens when you betray humanity. The room went silent. What Marcus was suggesting seemed impossible. The inner council members were the most protected individuals in the galaxy. They had entire fleets guarding them. It cannot be done, Natalie said quietly. Marcus smiled, but there was no humor in it. They said humans could not survive their attack either. Let us prove them wrong again. The plan was incredibly complex. It would require perfect timing across vast distances of space. But the survivors were motivated by something stronger than hope. They were motivated by the memory of 9 billion dead. Human ships began appearing in dozens of places at once. False attacks, diversions, and rumors kept the council fleets running in circles. While the aliens were distracted, small human teams moved into position near each of the 5 council leaders. Admiral Claire Bennett prepared to capture Veshnak, the Krillix Supreme Coordinator. She studied everything about Krillix culture and found their weakness. They were obsessed with military honor and pride. We are going to challenge them to single combat, Claire told her crew aboard the new warship Retribution. It is an old human tradition. Their honor will not let them refuse. Claire broadcast her challenge on all Krillix military channels. Supreme Coordinator Veshnak, you ordered my family killed. You ordered my species destroyed. I, Admiral Claire Bennett of humanity, challenge you to face me in battle. Or are the mighty Krillix afraid of one human woman? The insult was calculated perfectly. Veshnak was furious. He ordered his flagship and 30 warships to intercept the Retribution. He was certain of victory. The battle took place in neutral space. Veshnak's fleet came out of faster-than-light travel in their standard formation. Weapons were charged and shields were at maximum power. They never saw the trap. The Retribution had been bait. Hidden throughout a nearby asteroid field were dozens of human ships. All of them had the new zero-point energy weapons. When Veshnak's fleet was fully committed to the fight, the humans attacked from all sides. Alien ships simply vanished. Their matter was unraveled at the molecular level. The shields that normally stopped weapons were useless against directed quantum manipulation. Within minutes, 22 of the 30 ships were gone. The remaining 8 were badly damaged. Surrender or die, Claire broadcast. The choice is yours, Supreme Coordinator. For the first time in their history, the Krillix Supreme Military Leader surrendered to an enemy. While Admiral Claire was capturing Veshnak, Commander Kevin Price was executing a completely different operation. His target was Thexler, the Valorian delegate whose crystal face had smiled while Earth burned. Valorians were strange beings. They were made of energy housed inside crystal bodies. If their body was destroyed, they could transfer their consciousness to a new crystal. This made them almost impossible to kill permanently. But Kevin had learned something important from the captured alien databases. Valorians needed special quantum-stable crystals for their bodies. If you destroyed those crystals and trapped their energy, you could imprison a Valorian forever. Kevin and his team infiltrated the Valorian homeworld during a major diplomatic ceremony. They disguised themselves as trade representatives using holographic technology stolen from another alien species. They moved through crowds of aliens and nobody noticed them. Target located, Lieutenant Amy Brooks whispered into her radio. Thexelor is entering the council chambers now. The team moved with perfect timing. Small explosive charges that had been secretly placed over weeks of preparation all went off at once throughout the building. The explosions were not big enough to kill anyone, but they created chaos and confusion. In the panic, Kevin's team rushed forward and grabbed Thexler's crystal body. They shattered it with a quantum disruptor weapon. As the Valorian's consciousness tried to escape to find a new body, they activated a special containment field. The field trapped the energy signature inside a prison designed specifically for holding Valorians. Got you, Kevin said, looking at the swirling light that was all that remained of one of humanity's greatest enemies. Time to face justice. 3 more operations happened across council space at the same time. Colonel Nina Ross captured Kelthor by sneaking onto a Mantix hive ship and using special chemical weapons that turned the drones against their own master. Lieutenant Luis Garcia led a raid that grabbed Admiral Grex during a military inspection tour. Captain Drew Walsh used cyber warfare to crash Minister Praltesh's private spacecraft, then pulled the minister from the wreckage before anyone could respond. Within 1 week, all 5 leaders who had ordered humanity's genocide were in human custody. The Galactic Council's response was immediate and massive. Battle fleets were called up from every member species. A reward of 1 trillion credits was offered for any information leading to the human bases. The entire galaxy prepared for war, but humanity had already moved to the final phase of their plan. Marcus ordered all human forces to gather at a single location. It was a massive asteroid in uncharted space that had been hollowed out and turned into a fortress. Thousands of automated defense platforms surrounded it. The new quantum weapons gave the fortress firepower equal to 10 traditional fleets. More importantly, humans now had leverage. Attention Galactic Council. Marcus broadcast on all communication channels. You tried to exterminate humanity. You murdered 9 billion innocent people. You betrayed our trust and friendship. Now you will face the consequences. He paused, letting the silence build tension. We have captured the 5 leaders who ordered our genocide. In 7 days, they will stand trial for crimes against all intelligent life. The trial will be broadcast across the galaxy. Every species will hear the evidence. Every species will see proof of the conspiracy. And every species will watch as justice is served. The transmission ended. Across council space, leaders faced a terrible choice. They could attack the human fortress and risk having their captured leaders executed, or they could allow the trial to happen and face the political consequences when their people learned the truth. The galaxy held its breath and waited. Preparations for the trial moved forward with careful precision. Human engineers built a courtroom inside the asteroid fortress. It was simple but functional. A raised platform served as the judge's bench. 5 containment cells lined one wall holding the prisoners. Cameras were positioned to capture every angle. The broadcast would reach billions of viewers across thousands of worlds. Judge Margaret Foster had been a respected member of Earth's International Criminal Court before the attack. She had lost her husband in the bombardment, but had maintained her belief in law and justice. Despite her personal loss, she was determined to conduct a fair trial. This is not about revenge, Margaret told Marcus during a private meeting. This is about showing the galaxy that humanity believes in justice, not just retribution. If we execute them without trial, we become the monsters they claimed we were. Marcus was not completely convinced, but he trusted Margaret's judgment. Make it count. The galaxy needs to see what they did to us. On the day of the trial, Margaret called the proceedings to order. Her voice was calm and professional. This tribunal is gathered to examine charges of conspiracy to commit genocide, crimes against intelligent life, and violations of basic rights. The accused will be given full opportunity to defend themselves. The trial lasted 3 days. Humanity presented evidence gathered from captured databases, intercepted communications, and testimony from survivors. The conspiracy was revealed in horrible detail. The secret meetings, the strategic planning, the calculated betrayal, everything was shown to the watching galaxy. Commander Luis Garcia served as the main prosecutor. He was calm and methodical as he presented timeline after timeline. He showed how the council had studied human defenses, found weaknesses, and built secret backdoors into the technology they had given as gifts. They smiled at us, Luis said, his voice steady but filled with controlled anger. They called us friends and partners. They welcomed us into the galactic community, and the entire time they were planning our extinction. Video footage played on the screens. Council members watching from across the galaxy saw the bombardment of Earth. They saw cities burning, orbital stations exploding, millions dying. The images were graphic and undeniable. Veshanak tried to defend his actions by claiming it was necessary for galactic security. Humanity advanced faster than any species in recorded history. In 2 centuries, you went from basic rockets to faster-than-light travel. Another century and you would have been powerful enough to challenge the oldest civilizations. We acted to preserve stability. So you murdered children? Luis shot back. You destroyed hospitals? You deliberately targeted civilian population centers? We sought to end the conflict quickly to minimize suffering. 9 billion dead. 400 million survivors traumatized and scattered. Our home world turned into a wasteland. And you call that minimizing suffering? Thexler took a different approach. He argued that humanity's violent nature made them inherently dangerous. He presented examples from human history: wars, genocides, environmental destruction. Dr. Sophie Chen destroyed that argument with cold logic. Yes, we have a violent past. So does every species in this galaxy. The difference is we learned from our mistakes. We built international organizations, established laws, and worked toward peace. The Krillix have launched 4 wars of conquest in the last 1,000 years. The Valorians exterminated 3 primitive civilizations they considered incompatible. You judge us for sins you yourselves commit regularly. The trial was broadcast without any censorship. Across council space, ordinary citizens watched with growing shock and discomfort. Many had supported the human extermination because they believed the official story about humans being dangerous. Now they saw the truth. Their leaders had acted out of fear and jealousy, not necessity. Public opinion began to shift dramatically. Protests erupted on several worlds. Younger council delegates started asking difficult questions about who had authorized the attack and why there had been no public debate or vote. On the final day of the trial, each of the 5 accused was given a chance to make a final statement. Only Kelthor showed any remorse. I believed we were protecting the galaxy, the Mantic said quietly. I thought the threat was real and immediate. I was wrong. What we did was evil, and I accept full responsibility for my part in this terrible crime. The other 4 remained defiant to the very end. Judge Margaret delivered the verdict with the weight of 9 billion dead behind every word. This tribunal finds all 5 accused guilty of conspiracy to commit genocide, crimes against intelligent life, and systematic violations of basic rights. The sentences will reflect the magnitude of these crimes. The entire galaxy waited to hear what humanity would do to those who had tried to destroy them. The entire galaxy watched and waited. Billions of beings across thousands of worlds stared at their screens. What would humanity do? Would they execute the 5 council leaders? Would they torture them? Would they become the monsters that the council had claimed they were? Judge Margaret Foster looked at the 5 prisoners in their containment cells. She thought about her husband who had died in the bombardment. She thought about the 9 billion humans who would never see another sunrise. She thought about the 430 million survivors who would carry scars for the rest of their lives. However, Margaret continued, her voice clear and strong, humanity will not become what you feared we would be. We will not engage in senseless revenge or continue cycles of violence. The sentences are as follows. Life imprisonment under human custody, where you will serve as living witnesses to ensure this horror is never repeated. Shocked silence filled the courtroom. Many human survivors had demanded execution. General Marcus himself had initially supported the death penalty. But Margaret had convinced the human leadership to choose a different path. If we execute them, they become martyrs, Margaret had argued in the planning meetings. Their people might remember them as heroes who died trying to protect the galaxy. But if we keep them alive, they become permanent reminders of what happens when fear and hatred guide decisions. Let them spend the rest of their lives watching humanity prove them wrong. The reaction across the galaxy was immediate. Some aliens thought humans were weak for showing mercy. Others were impressed that a species which had suffered so much could still show restraint. But everyone understood the message. Humanity was not the mindless threat that the Council had feared. They were capable of both terrible vengeance and profound mercy. The broader Galactic Council, shaken by the revelations from the trial, moved quickly to distance themselves from the conspiracy. The 5 species whose leaders had orchestrated the genocide faced economic sanctions and political isolation. Reform movements swept through council chambers. Young delegates demanded answers about how such a crime could have been planned in secret. Ambassador Helen Carter, who had survived the initial betrayal by being trapped on the council station, returned as humanity's representative. But this time she did not come as someone seeking acceptance and friendship. She came as the voice of a civilization that had survived genocide and emerged stronger. Humanity is willing to rejoin the galactic community, Helen announced during her first speech to the Reformed Council. But the terms have changed completely. We will maintain our own military forces. We will keep our technological secrets. We will establish colonies and expand our territory without asking permission. And if any species ever threatens us again, they will learn what happens when you awaken a sleeping giant. The new treaty was signed 6 months later. It established humanity as an independent power with full sovereign rights. Council ships were banned from human space without explicit permission. Human technology would no longer be shared freely with other species. Most importantly, the trial proceedings were made part of galactic law. Conspiracy to commit genocide was now a crime that could be prosecuted with no time limit. Marcus stood on the observation deck of the fortress, watching human ships depart in every direction. Some carried colonists to new worlds far from Council space. Others headed back to begin the long, painful process of rebuilding Earth. A few maintained constant patrols, ensuring humanity would never again be caught unprepared. Claire joined him at the window. She had aged significantly in the months since Earth fell. Her hair was now streaked with gray despite medical treatments that should have kept her looking young. "Do you think we did the right thing?" she asked quietly. "Showing them mercy?" Marcus thought carefully before answering. "We showed the galaxy who we really are. Not the monsters they feared, but beings capable of both terrible vengeance and deep mercy. They will never underestimate us again. But they also cannot claim we are unreasonable or naturally violent. What about the survivors? The 430 million who lost everything? They are building something new, something stronger." Marcus gestured toward the departing ships. "Every human alive today understands what we almost lost. We will never take peace for granted again. We will never be foolish about potential threats. But we also will not become paranoid isolationists living in constant fear." Dr. Sophie Chen took a position leading the new human military research division. Her zero-point energy weapons had been refined and mass-produced. Humanity now possessed the most advanced military technology in the galaxy, and they made no effort to hide it. "Deterrence through strength," Sophie explained during a news conference. "No species will ever again think they can attack humanity without suffering devastating consequences. But we will not use these weapons for conquest or intimidation. They exist only to ensure our survival and protect our freedom." Lieutenant Kevin Price continued leading the expanded fighter wing. Thousands of new pilots were training in the most advanced combat ships known to exist. When reporters asked if he feared future conflicts, his response was simple and direct. "I hope for peace every single day, but I train for war constantly. That is the human way now. The rebuilding of Earth took decades. The scars from the bombardment would never completely disappear, but new cities rose from the ashes. New Tokyo, built on the ruins of the old capital, became a symbol of human resilience and determination. Its central memorial was a massive wall that listed the names of all 9 billion dead. Every human child learned the complete story of the betrayal in school. Not to make them hate aliens, but to teach them vigilance and strength. Humanity would remain part of the galactic community. They would trade and cooperate with alien species, but they would never again extend complete trust to anyone. 20 years after the trial, a young Valorian student named Preshalax visited the human memorial on Earth. She stood before the enormous wall of names for hours. Tears flowed down her crystalline face as she read name after name after name. "I am so sorry," she whispered to the memorial wall. "My people did this terrible thing to you. I can never make it right, but I promise to spend my entire life ensuring it never happens again to anyone." An elderly human woman approached slowly. Her eyes were sharp despite her age. "Your presence here is the first step toward real healing," she said gently. "My name is Helen Carter. I was the ambassador when the attack happened." Preshalax turned to her in shock. "You survived? You were there?" "Many of us survived, and we chose to survive with purpose rather than just seeking revenge. That is humanity's real strength. Not our weapons or our technology, but our ability to endure terrible pain, adapt to impossible situations, and build something better from complete ruins. The galaxy had learned a hard and painful lesson about humanity. Humans were not the peaceful, naive species that had first reached for the stars with hope and wonder. The betrayal had forged them into something new and formidable. A civilization that valued peace but prepared constantly for war. A people who hoped for cooperation, but relied completely on self-sufficiency. A species that could forgive but would never, ever forget. The Galactic Council had betrayed Earth and nearly succeeded in erasing humanity from the universe forever. Instead, they created exactly what they had feared most. A united human species, heavily militarized, technologically superior, and possessing both the power and the absolute will to defend themselves against any threat. But the aliens had also, accidentally, created something else entirely. A species that deeply understood the value of mercy, the critical importance of justice, and the necessity of laws that protected all intelligent life regardless of power or influence. Humanity's ruthless retribution had not been measured in body counts or destroyed worlds. It had been measured in transformed laws, reformed attitudes, and a new galactic order where genocide was no longer considered an acceptable policy tool. General Marcus Webb, now old and preparing to retire, looked out at the stars from Earth's rebuilt orbital station. He reflected quietly on the long journey humanity had taken. They tried to kill us all. Instead, they made us stronger than we ever would have become on our own. And in the end, we showed them something they did not expect. Humanity's greatest weapon is not our technology or our military tactics. It is our absolute refusal to become the monsters they feared we would be. The galaxy would never be the same, and humanity, scarred but unbroken, had claimed their rightful place among the stars, not as victims or as conquerors, but as survivors who had earned their existence through sacrifice, determination, and an unyielding commitment to justice for all. The betrayal of Earth was now taught to every species as a cautionary tale. The lesson was simple and clear: never underestimate humanity. Not because they will respond with mindless violence, but because they will respond with calculated justice, brilliant strategy, and the kind of resilience that can turn attempted genocide into galactic transformation.